Be me. Brenda, 32, senior project manager at a tech company. Not a coder, but I speak the language. Majored in communications, minored in gender studies. My real talent is managing people and shaping narratives. I'm passionate, driven, and I believe in making the world a better, more equitable place. It is a decent place to work. Mid-sized B2B software solutions. We make a very unsexy but very profitable logistics and inventory management suite called Logistics. The pay is good, the benefits are solid. The culture is, well, it's a tech culture. Walk onto the main development floor and it's a sea of hoodies, nerdy t-shirts, and headphones. And let's be honest, it's mostly dudes. There's Dave, the database guru. Mid-40s, looks like he hasn't seen the sun since dial-up was a thing. Socially awkward, lives on a diet of stale pizza and energy drinks. But the man is a wizard. He designed the core architecture of logistics a decade ago, and his knowledge is encyclopedic. He can debug a catastrophic failure by just sort of sniffing the air. There's Kevin, the front-end maestro. Young guy, obsessed with minimalist UI and obscure JavaScript frameworks. He can make a user interface so intuitive a chimp could manage a global supply chain with it. And then there's Raj, the back-end juggernaut. Quiet, methodical, writes code that is so clean and efficient it's practically art. He handles the server-side logic, the APIs, the stuff that makes everything actually work. These guys, and a dozen others like them, are the engine of the company. They're not always the most socially graceful, and their jokes can be cringe, but they build, maintain, and innovate the product that pays all our salaries. I manage their projects. I translate their technobabble into client-friendly timelines. I run interference, I schedule meetings, I make sure the ship is pointed in the right direction, but something has been bothering me. It's the sheer, overwhelming maleness of it all. I'm one of only 3 women in a department of 30. The other 2 are in QA and junior support. It feels wrong, unbalanced. I read the articles, I see the statistics. Tech has a problem, and I'm living in the middle of it. One weekend, the company sends me to the Women in Tech Forward conference in San Francisco. It's a revelation. The air is electric with empowerment. Every speaker is a visionary. Every panel is a call to action. I hear stories of struggle, of being talked over in meetings, of having code scrutinized more harshly than male colleagues. I hear about the leaky pipeline, where women are driven out of the industry by toxic bro cultures. I learn new terms. Not just patriarchy, but kyriarchy. Not just mansplaining, but hippeating. A keynote speaker, a charismatic CEO of a WOMXN-focused startup, says something that hits me like a thunderbolt. We don't just need to invite women to the table, she declares, her voice ringing through the auditorium. We need to build a whole new table. A table by women for women. We cannot fix the master's house with the master's tools. The crowd goes wild. I'm on my feet, applauding until my hands are raw. This is it. This is the answer. The flight back to dreary old Ohio is a blur of furious note-taking and strategic planning. The problem isn't just that we don't have enough women. The problem is the men, their culture, their ingrained biases, their way of thinking. It's the master's house. It's inherently exclusionary. You can't just add a few women and stir. You have to change the fundamental ingredients. My idea starts to form, radical and beautiful in its simplicity. We don't just need to hire more women. We need to hire only women. A female-led, female-staffed development team. A safe space for innovation, free from the oppressive dynamics of the patriarchy. A beacon of progress. A new table. Monday morning, I march into the office of our CEO, Greg. Greg is Greg. A nice enough guy in his early 50s, a business major who inherited the company from his father. He's more comfortable with spreadsheets than with social justice, but he's terrified of bad PR. He wants the company to be seen as modern, progressive, a top 100 place to work. I lay it all out for him. I use the language I learned at the conference. Greg, we have a systemic problem, I begin, my voice filled with passion. Our development floor is a monoculture. It stifles innovation and creates a hostile environment for diverse talent. He nods slowly, stroking his chin. I know, Brenda. We've been trying to improve our diversity numbers. It's tough. The pipeline isn't the problem, I interrupt, leaning forward. The house is the problem. We need to build a new wing, a pilot program, a new development team for a new product initiative, and we staff it entirely with women. Greg's eyes widen. Entirely? Is that legal? It's a targeted hiring initiative to correct a historic imbalance, I say, using the precise phrasing from a conference pamphlet. It's not discriminatory, it's reparative. Think of the message it sends. Think of the headlines. This company launches groundbreaking female-led tech incubator. We'd be heroes. We'd attract top female talent from all over the country. I can see the gears turning in his head. He's picturing the Forbes article, the local news segment, the LinkedIn posts from industry influencers praising his courage. A whole team, he murmurs. Who would we get? It's hard enough to find senior developers as it is. We have to change our metrics for what talent looks like, I counter. We can't rely on the same biased credentials that have upheld the patriarchy for decades. We look for passion, for collaborative spirit, for diverse perspectives. We can train for specific skills. We're not just hiring coders, we're building a community. I talk for another 20 minutes. I paint a picture of a vibrant, creative, collaborative utopia. A team that communicates, that supports each other, that solves problems with empathy and ingenuity. By the end, he's sold. He's not just convinced, he's excited. All right, Brenda, he says, a grin spreading across his face. Let's do it. You're in charge. Build your team. This is going to be huge. I walk out triumphant, GIF. Phase 1 is complete. The Phoenix project is born. That's what I call it. Rising from the ashes of the old ways, we get a budget. We get a section of the office, which we immediately redecorate with inspirational posters and succulents. No more drab gray cubicles. Now, the hiring begins. I'm in charge of the entire process. The resumes pour in. It's true there aren't many with 10 years of C++ experience, but I'm looking for other things. A resume from a woman named Chloe catches my eye. Not much tech experience, but she ran a hugely successful social media campaign for a nonprofit. She's a digital native and a master communicator. Perfect. She'll be great for community management and front-end feedback. Then there's Madison. She has a certificate from a 12-week Code Her bootcamp. The portfolio is a little thin, a to-do list app and a clone of the game Pong, but her cover letter is a masterpiece. It's a fiery manifesto about breaking barriers and her desire to build technology that empowers women. She has passion. She's in. We'll call her a junior full-stack developer. Avery is a recent computer science graduate. She's shy and seems a bit overwhelmed, but she's technically proficient on paper. She's a good get. We need someone who actually knows what a pointer is. One by one, I build my team. I hire a woman who minored in art history to be our UI UX designer because she has a unique aesthetic sensibility. I hire a project manager whose main qualification is that she organized a series of feminist poetry slams. The old guard, the logistics team, watches all of this with a mixture of confusion and amusement. I hear them muttering by the coffee machine. Did you see the new hires' GitHub? It's just forks of other people's tutorials, I overhear Kevin say. I tried to ask one of them about our database schema, and she looked at me like I had 3 heads, Dave grumbles. I call a meeting with their manager. I explain that their team's attitude is creating a chilly climate for the Phoenix project. I use the phrase unconscious bias and gatekeeping. Their manager, a guy named Bill who just wants to avoid conflict, promises to have a word. The result is that the logistics team just stops talking to us altogether. They keep their heads down, headphones on, and churn out code for the main product. A wall of silence builds between our 2 sections of the office. It doesn't matter. We don't need them. We are the future. Our first project is to build a wellness and menstrual cycle tracking app for a new corporate client. It's called FemFlow. The kickoff meeting is amazing. We sit in a circle. We don't have a leader. We have a facilitator. We talk about our feelings, our hopes for the project, our personal connections to the concept. It's collaborative and supportive. Then we try to actually plan the work. The problems start immediately. Avery, our one actual CS grad, tries to explain the need for a robust back-end architecture. We'll need to decide on a database solution, she says quietly, SQL or no SQL. And we need to think about API security, especially with sensitive health data. Madison, the bootcamp grad, scoffs. Let's not get bogged down in technical jargon. We should be agile. Let's just start building the front end in React and connect it to Firebase. It's super easy. Chloe, the social media guru, agrees. Yes, I have so many ideas for the UI. We need color palettes that reflect the divine feminine, and we should have a feature where you can share your cycle data with your moon sisters. Avery tries to interject. But sharing health data has huge privacy implications. We need to encrypt everything end to end. Firebase might not be the best for that. Avery, you're focusing on problems, not solutions, I say gently. We need to maintain a positive, can-do attitude. Let's trust Madison's expertise in agile development. Avery shrinks back in her chair and says no more. The pattern is set. We spend 2 weeks designing the logo and arguing about the perfect shade of lavender for the main button. When we finally start coding, it's chaos. Madison and 2 other bootcamp grads start building React components, but none of them know how to use version control properly. They keep overwriting each other's work. Getgud.txt is not on the curriculum. The code they produce is a mess of copy-pasted snippets from Stack Overflow and tutorial blogs. There are no comments. The variable names are things like thingy and data blob. The app is slow. It crashes if you look at it wrong. The Moon Sisters sharing feature, when they finally hack it together, broadcasts user data in plain text. It's not a bug. It's a feature that would get us sued into oblivion. We miss our first deadline, then our second. The client is getting antsy. I call a team meeting. What's the problem? I ask. The problem is that we're working with tools created by men for men, Chloe announces. The whole structure of programming is linear, logical, patriarchal. We need a more intuitive, holistic way to code. Everyone nods sagely. This sounds much better than, we don't know what we're doing. I go to Greg, the CEO. I explain that the team is hitting roadblocks due to the technical debt and poorly designed systems left behind by the previous male-dominated culture. We need more time and resources to build our own tools from the ground up. Greg, who still loves the PR, agrees. He gives us an extension. Meanwhile, things are starting to go wrong on the logistics side of the building. A few of the key guys have left. Kevin, the front-end genius, got a better offer from a startup. Another senior engineer retired. Their replacements are okay, but they're not wizards. One afternoon, the entire logistics system goes down. Complete outage. Every single one of our clients, from small warehouses to multinational corporations, can't manage their inventory. The phone lines light up. The support desk is in meltdown. Dave, the database guru, is on vacation. He's on a cruise in the Caribbean, completely unreachable. The remaining logistics team scrambles. They're in the war room, staring at scrolling error logs. They've been at it for hours, but they're lost. Dave's architecture is a labyrinth, and he was the only one with the map. Raj, the back-end juggernaut, is doing his best, but the problem is deep in the database layer. Dave's sanctum sanctorum. After 8 hours of downtime, Greg is sweating bullets. We're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars an hour. Our biggest client is threatening to break their contract. He storms into the Phoenix project area. I need all hands on deck. Brenda, get your team in here. We need everyone looking at this. I lead my team into the war room. It's like stepping into another world. The air is thick with tension and the smell of stale coffee. The logistics guys look at us with desperation. Any of you know PL SQL? Raj asks, his eyes bloodshot. My team stares back blankly. Madison whispers to me, is that like a prequel to sequel? I try to take charge. Okay, team, I say in my most encouraging project manager voice. Let's deconstruct the problem. What is the emotional core of this crisis? Raj just stares at me. The emotional core is that a corrupted data index is preventing the primary transaction table from mounting. We're losing data, and we can't find the backup. Okay, Chloe says, stepping forward. Let's visualize success. Let's all close our eyes and manifest a solution. I swear I see one of the logistics engineers' mouths. What the fuck? We are useless. Worse than useless. We are a distraction. We stand around, offering suggestions like, have you tried turning it off and on again? And maybe the server just needs a safe space to process its errors. After 14 hours, they finally find the problem. A junior engineer on the logistics team had run a script that accidentally dropped a critical index. It was a stupid mistake, one that Dave would have caught in a heartbeat. The system comes back online, but the damage is done. We lost a major client. Our reputation is in tatters. Greg calls me into his office the next day. The PR glow is gone. He looks old and tired. Brenda, he says, the Phoenix project is being put on indefinite hold. FemFlow is canceled. Your team, they'll be reassigned to documentation and QA for the logistics product. It's a demotion, a public humiliation. You don't understand, I plead. We were on the verge of a breakthrough. This is just a setback. It's the old culture's fault. No, Brenda, he says, his voice flat. It's not. I made a mistake. I listened to a sales pitch instead of looking at the reality. We need people who can do the job. That's it. That's all that matters. My team is devastated. They are assigned to writing user manuals and testing button colors on the logistics UI. The fire is gone from their eyes. The dream is dead. The wall of silence between us and the logistics team becomes a wall of quiet, pitying contempt. But I'm not done. I'm a fighter. This is just another obstacle. The patriarchy is pushing back, trying to protect its power. I start a blog, Diary of a Feminist Coder. I write long, impassioned posts about our struggle. I don't mention our technical failures. Instead, I frame it as a story of sabotage. We were a threat to the established order, and they couldn't handle it, I write. Our collaborative, holistic approach was too radical. They shut us down, fearing the change we represented. The blog gets some traction in certain online circles. I get messages of support. I feel a flicker of my old fire. I'm still a revolutionary. Meanwhile, the company continues its slow-motion decline. Dave comes back from his cruise, fixes the lingering database issues, and then promptly hands in his resignation. He's had enough. He's going to a competitor for a 50% raise. Raj leaves a month later. The core of the company is gone. The logistics product, once a bastion of reliability, becomes buggy and slow. The new hires can't keep up with the technical debt. They're just patching holes in a sinking ship. More clients leave. There are layoffs. The atmosphere in the office is a funeral dirge. Then comes the day of the great collapse. It starts with a weird error message from a single client, then another, then a dozen. Within an hour, the entire logistics platform is throwing fatal errors. The database is completely unresponsive. It's not just down, it's gone. This is it. The big one. The extinction level event. Greg calls an emergency meeting. What's left of the logistics team is in full-blown panic. No one has any idea what's happening. It's a failure on a scale they can't even comprehend. My own team is huddled in our corner, trying to look busy writing documentation for features that no longer exist. I'm sitting at my desk, my heart pounding in my chest. This is it. This is the final failure of the old guard. When the dust settles, my vision will be vindicated. We will rise from the ashes. Then one of the remaining senior guys, a man named Mark, lets out a gasp. "Oh my God," he whispers, his face pale. "It's the Phoenix Code." I feel a cold dread creep up my spine. "What are you talking about?" "The documentation module," he says, his voice trembling. "The one Brenda's team was working on. We integrated it into the main branch last week." He points to a line of code on the screen. It's a function written by Madison, the bootcamp grad. I remember her being so proud of it. It was supposed to sanitize user input for the help docs. "This function," Mark says, his voice barely audible, "it doesn't sanitize anything. It's a SQL injection vulnerability so wide you could drive a truck through it. And it's connected to the root user input field." He types a few commands. Someone found it. They ran a drop database command. It's all gone. The main database, the backups, everything. They wiped us out. The room goes silent. The only sound is the hum of the servers. Everyone turns and looks at me, not with anger, not with hatred, with a kind of hollow, empty finality. It was us. It was my team. It was my project, my vision. My safe space had created a vulnerability that had just destroyed the entire company. My holistic approach had missed the one single detail that mattered. Greg just looks at me, his face a mask of utter defeat. He doesn't even have the energy to fire me. He just turns and walks back to his office to call the lawyers. I look at my team. Chloe is crying silently into her hands. Madison is staring at the screen, whispering, "No, no, no." Avery is just sitting perfectly still, catatonic. The weight of it all hits me. The lost jobs, the destroyed company, the years of work turned to digital dust. I didn't build a new table. I just burned the whole house down. In a daze, I pull out my phone. My fingers shake as I scroll through my contacts. I find his name, Dave. I have to know. I have to hear it from the wizard himself. I press call. It rings twice. He picks up. "Hello?" His voice is calm, relaxed. I hear birds chirping in the background. "Dave," I stammer. "It's Brenda." "Brenda," he says. There's no surprise in his voice. "I heard. It's all over the industry chat boards. I'm sorry. Can it be fixed?" I whisper, my voice cracking. "Is there anything, a ghost in the machine, a secret backup you hid somewhere?" I hear him sigh, a deep, weary sound. "No, Brenda, there's no magic fix. You can't undrop a database that has no backups. You know I told you guys for months that your code wasn't ready for production. I saw that injection vulnerability in the first code review. I flagged it. I wrote a 3-page report on why it was catastrophic." I vaguely remember the email. I'd dismissed it as mansplaining and unconstructive feedback. I'd told Madison to ignore it, to trust her instincts. "You didn't just fire the people who could do the work," Dave says, his voice devoid of malice, just filled with a sad clinical truth. "You created a culture where being competent was seen as an attack. You told everyone that passion was more important than skill. This was always going to happen. This is the end result of your philosophy." I can't breathe. He's not yelling. He's not gloating. He's just telling me the truth. I start, but I don't know what to say. "Good luck, Brenda," he says, and hangs up. I'm left alone in the silent, dead war room. The screens are all red. The alerts have finally stopped, because there's nothing left to monitor. I open my blog, Diary of a Feminist Coder. I read my last post, written just yesterday. They will see. One day, they will all see. MFW. I look around the ruins of my career, my company, and my ideology. MFW, I realized the master's tools were called tools for a reason. MFW, I destroyed a multi-million-dollar company and the livelihoods of 50 people to prove a point. And the point was that I was a complete and utter idiot.